Welcome back! Today's lesson is all about the rational root theorem. You may be wondering why we're still talking about roots, and you may even wonder where the term root comes from. If it makes you think of a tree, you're not alone. One reason we call the x-intercepts of a function its roots is because those x-intercepts ground or root the function to the x-axis. And we already know that finding those roots is an extremely important step of analyzing and understanding polynomial functions. As we continue down the road of completely factoring polynomials, recall that in our last lesson, you learned how to use synthetic division to factor a polynomial function when you were given a starting factor. But we also asked the question, how do we factor a polynomial function if we're not given a starting factor? The rational root theorem is here to rescue us. Let's find out how it works. For example, how would I factor this cubic polynomial function if I wasn't given any other information? I suppose I could start guessing some factors and use synthetic division as many times as it took to finally get a remainder of 0. Which would tell me that the number in my box is a 0 of the polynomial. But what number should I put in my small box? 0? 1? -5? 200? 1/2? 31/27? Where in the world do I start? Enter the rational root theorem. The rational root theorem says that if a polynomial function has any rational roots, meaning roots that can be written as fractions, they will be in a certain form, which can be found in the polynomial itself. What does that mean? Let's find out. Here's how it works. Let's start with a generic polynomial function written in standard form, along with an example function. What do all of these letters mean? Let's take it term by term. The first term is a sub n times x to the n power. A sub n is a general way of labeling our leading coefficient. In our example, a sub n is 3. X to the n is the label for the variable of the highest degree in the function. In our example, n is 4, and our leading term contains x to the 4th. Now we'll look at the second term. A sub n minus 1 is a label for the coefficient of the second term, and x to the n minus 1 power means that we've now decreased 1 degree and we have x to the third. Note that if the coefficient here was 0, we wouldn't have an x cubed term, and that's okay. The ellipsis shows that there may be terms that aren't explicitly listed, but we know that our terms would continue decreasing in degree until we got to a linear term, like our 2x here. And finally, a sub o is the label for the final constant term. The rational root theorem tells us that a sub n, the leading coefficient, and a sub o, the constant term, are very important. We will need to find all of the factors of a sub n and a sub o. Now that we know that the rational root theorem is going to have us focus on a sub n and a sub o, let's see what the theorem actually says. Here is the rational root theorem. Since we're only going to need to focus on a sub n and a sub o, let's simplify our polynomial just a bit. That's better. The rational root theorem says that if f of x, a polynomial function with integer coefficients, has any rational roots, the roots will be of the form plus or minus p over q, where p is a factor of the constant term and q is a factor of the leading coefficient. Let's see the process at work with an actual function. Find all possible rational roots of f of x, which is 2x to the third plus 3x squared minus 8x plus 3. To find all of the possible rational roots, we'll need to focus on the constant, 3, and the leading coefficient, 2. We're going to end up with a series of values, p over q, that will give us a starting point for the possible rational roots of this function. Start with p, which will be the factors of the constant term. What are the factors of 3? We have 1 and 3. But there are 2 more possible factors of 3. What are they? Did you think of -1 and -3? Let's put those on the list too. We have 4 possibilities for the numerator of our fraction. Then we move to the values for q. What are the factors of our leading coefficient 2? Yep, 1, 2, -1, and -2. Place those in the denominator. Now, let's start finding possible rational roots, starting with the 1s. 1 over 1 is 1. 1 over -1 is -1. -1 over 1 is -1. -1 over -1 is 1. Okay, hold on. This is going to create a lot of duplicates. Is there something from the theorem I'm missing? Ah, that's right. The theorem tells us that the possible rational roots will be plus or minus p over q. So I don't need to list my positive values and negative values separately. So let's try that again, remembering that we can use a plus or minus with p over q to represent all of the possible positive and negative iterations of this fraction. Now we only need to list the positive factors of 3 in our numerator and the positive factors of 2 in our denominator. Now, list out the possibilities in a systematic manner so that we don't skip any. Starting with the 1 in the numerator, we have plus or minus 1 over 1 and 1 over 2. Now go to the 3 in the numerator. That gives us plus or minus 3 over 1 and 3 over 2. Rational root theorem tells us that if f of x has any rational roots at all, they will be found among these 8 values. That's a much smaller set of possibilities than we had a few minutes ago. Great! Now that we've found those possible rational roots, we're ready to use them. Let's go ahead and write them all out for now so we can start checking them. We have positive or negative 1, 1/2, 3, and 3/2. Now we can employ the synthetic division skills you learned in the last lesson to run through these possible factors pretty quickly, hoping to find one that results in a remainder of 0. And what would it mean if the remainder is 0? The factor theorem tells us that the associated factor divides evenly, and it is indeed a root of the function. Where do we start? It really doesn't matter. Let's try starting with positive 3. Here we go. Bring the 2 straight down. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. Negative 8 plus 27 is 19. 3 plus 57 is 60. That remainder is not 0, so we know that 3 is not a root of our function. Here's a tip. If you start to notice that your current trial won't end with a remainder of 0, you don't need to keep going. Feel free to abandon that attempt and try another candidate. The next candidate I want to try is negative 1. Here we go again. When I got to this point, I realized that the negative 9 here is not going to lead to a remainder of 0. At this point, I'd probably abandon this attempt and try another possibility. However, we'll finish up to see that the remainder is 12. Since I didn't get a remainder of 0, I know that negative 1 is not a root, which means that x plus 1 is not a factor. Next, let's try negative 3. Ah, third time's a charm. We found a root of this function. This remainder of 0 tells us that negative 3 is a 0, or a root, of f of x. So what do we do with this result now that we've found a rational root? You learned that in the lesson on synthetic division. we now have enough information to begin factoring this function. We know that x equals -3 is a root of f of x, but what does that mean? We know that the factor associated with x equals -3 is x plus 3. And we can use the results of our synthetic division to write the rest of the polynomial, 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. So you can see how even though we weren't given a starting factor, the rational root theorem helped us find a factor of f of x pretty quickly and rewrite it as a linear factor times a quadratic factor. We're going to focus on completely factoring polynomials in our next lesson, but feel free to finish factoring f of x on your own in your PDF. Let's take a look at an example problem with a more complicated function. Find all possible rational roots of g of x, which is 3x to the 4th minus 7x to the 3rd minus 9x squared plus 7x plus 6. Which values do we need to focus on? Right, the constant term 6 and the leading coefficient 3. Here, I've given you some more detailed steps to help with functions like this one that have more factors to choose from. Again, start by listing the factors of a sub o in the numerator. The factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. Then, list the factors of a sub n in the denominator. The factors of 3 are 1 and 3. And then, put a plus minus on the front. Now we're ready to expand those brackets to see the fractions that will make up the set of possible rational roots. Work systematically, starting with the 1 in the numerator. That gives us 1 over 1 and 1 over 3. Moving to the 2, we get 2 over 1 and 2 over 3. Next is 3 over 1 and 3 over 3. Finally, 6 over 1 and 6 over 3. Next, simplify the fractions and remove any duplicates. Here are all of those roots in their simplified form. Which ones are duplicates? Here they are. 6 over 3 gave us 2, and 3 over 3 gave us 1. Here's our final set of simplified possible rational roots in numerical order. Plus or minus 1/3, 2/3, 1, 2, 3, and 6. Now that you have a list of possible rational roots, you're ready to start testing them. Set up your synthetic division. And if you were doing this on your own, you could simply choose a value to start with and look for a remainder of 0. But I'll start you off this time with -2/3. The process for synthetic division is the same whether you have a whole number or a fraction in your small box. Go ahead and finish this synthetic division on your own. How was that? Check your work against mine. -2/3 ended up with a remainder of 0, so -2/3 is a root of g of x. Great work on the rational root theorem today. We've learned that for any polynomial function with integer coefficients, we can use the factors of its constant term and its leading coefficient to find a list of possible rational roots of that function. Testing those values, usually with synthetic division, helps us determine whether any of those values are indeed roots of the function, which in turn allows us to begin factoring the function, a skill we'll work on in the next lesson. So, to wrap up this lesson on the rational root theorem, be sure to finish your guided notes, and then complete the PDF activities and the online practice. Your next lesson is another section wrap-up where we'll summarize everything you've learned in the last few lessons and use the rational root theorem and other tools you've learned to completely factor polynomial functions and find all of their roots. See you then!
Hey, hey.